Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So glad you could join us today. Today we're going to be doing a book review on How to Say Babylon by Safiya Sinclair. I really enjoyed this book. It is a memoir and it takes place in Montego Bay. Most of it is in Montego Bay, but we follow the life of Safiya Sinclair from her own words. What I really enjoyed about How to Say Babylon was the poetic prose that I found in it. It's just neatly articulated the way that she expresses herself and how she finds the words to express her life from her point of view. She really goes into detail about her life and the things that she experienced as a Rastafarian and growing up in a Rastafarian home. What I really enjoyed about Safiya's memoir is that she was able to go into detail about her life, but also her life from her mom's perspective, from her dad's perspective, and from her siblings. In the beginning, she really breaks down the history of Rastafarianism and kind of how it got started in Jamaica and where it derived from. I really like how she just kind of paints this scene for us and this history for us that is very vivid. And I think that's what I love about Safiya's work and her words, is that she's able to express everything that she experienced in her childhood in this beautifully written memoir. This book is amazing. I really like how it's packaged. As you see, I have tons of notes like I always do. Of course, was the history of Jamaica and Mobay as a whole. When we refer to Mobay, of course, we're talking about Montego Bay. Again, Safiya paints this beautiful picture of what life was like for her and her mother and her father when she was growing up in a third world country where they didn't have a lot of money, and it was very difficult to come across a good living and being able to support their family. So she talks about that. When she talks about the origins of Rastafarianism and the male dominance and masculine culture that she experienced being a Rasta, she really goes into detail about the relationship that she has with her father, or that she had with her father. And Safiya, she showed us the reconciliation that she had with her dad towards the end of the book. I don't want to give up too much if you do decide to read it, but she gives us a vivid picture of what her reconciliation was like with her father, later on down the line. But in the midst of all the trials that Safiya went through, she really tells her story about the spiritual abuse that she experienced, the mental abuse, the physical abuse that she experienced in her household with her dad. Her dad was a musician, so he would do gigs for different resorts and stuff like that while they lived in Mobay, but he always wanted to be a really great artist and an amazing musician. I know at one point she did mention that her dad lived overseas in order to bring back money to them in their country. So she talked about that as well. And I think what I really loved about Safiya's story was her love for education and where her love of education started from. And that was birthed from her mother. Her mother was an avid reader. And Safiya talks about where it began for her to really grow a love for poetry. And it's really, it's not even ironic, but it's beautiful to know that the reason why her memoir is written in such a poetic state and why she was able to write so well in a poetic prose, if you put it that way, is because she read a lot of poetry, and she learned a lot of poetry too from a mentor, should I say, or an older man. She goes into detail about that too, but I'm not gonna tell that whole story. What I also liked about this book is the breakdown that Safiya really went into about the relationship that she has or had with her mother. Her mother was, doing a lot of things or stemming from a place of anger and abuse as well that she experienced from their father. So what ended up happening was that, you know, Sophia's mom was just always in a place of just being like the quiet one and not really speaking up in her marriage. And I think that Sophia kind of got like a perspective of what it looked like in her parents' marriage, and you know, from a child's point of view. But then as she got older, she was able to express like what that really looked like for her mother, and how like their mom, because she had, I think, 3 other siblings, her mom was taking on a lot of the spiritual, physical, mental abuse that was not placed onto the kids from their father. Again, like I love the ending because for the book, because it's not like Sophia was just painting her dad to be like this terrible man, even though he like was growing up and he experienced a lot of traumatic hurt and mother hurt, because that's really what it was. Like a lot of his anger and his hurt came from the hurts and the pains that his mother put onto him and not accepting him into her life. So her mom, I mean, her dad was, Sophia's dad was, you know, also, you know, neglected by his own mom. So she gave us like a vivid picture of what that looked like as well. And it was sad because it was like, it was generational trauma and generational curses that were just kind of like playing out right before our eyes in this book. When you are willing enough to put your best foot forward and use that pain that you've had from in your life and from your childhood as your purpose, you're willing enough to serve a bigger purpose other than whatever you're going through. You're willing enough to give your testimony and give it to someone else. And while I was reading this book, I was able to live through Sophia's experience, what she's written down, but it also made me look at my own life and how I've experienced like some type of spiritual abuse or hurt or pain, or like those father or mother wounds that a lot of us try to run from versus actually facing them. If you ever do get to pick up How to Say Babylon, I definitely suggest reading this. On Goodreads, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Like, it is written so well. The stories that are told in this are written so well. Sophia gives us this beautiful history of like her family tree and her background, and what that looks like for her coming from, you know, Jamaica to the US and experiencing what, you know, being in America is like. It's just all around, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think that everyone should read this, especially since it's like so rich with culture and Jamaican culture. She was really able to articulate to her audience, you know, what it was like, and not having all of the resources that they needed in their education, but they were still able to make a way. And her siblings, like how intelligent they are and how their mom really pushed them to, you know, just shoot for anything with their minds and their intellects. Listen, I'm gonna read it again. I've only read it one time and I could not put it, it's unput downable, okay? Read this book, How to Say Babylon by Sophia Sinclair. And I hope that you all have an amazing week. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, share with family, and we'll see you all in the next video. Bye.